Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Tim Cyclesman Wood, editor of Cycles News and Views on Cyclesman.com. Welcome back to the show, Tim, and welcome back to relatively decent health.
Thank you. We've been fighting the flu or whatever it is going around, and it was not fun, I promise you that. But anyway, I think we're digging our way out.
Today's show, we'll keep it short and sweet here because Tim's still having a bit of a problem with his throat here. So let's take a look at the year 2020. How did the market shape up, Tim, and how did it fit your expectations? Well,
I guess it started off fitting my expectation. I seem to remember us talking about going into 2000. Let's go back to late 2019, and remember we looked at the economic data, and I dug into that. It was kind of prompted by the employment numbers and talking about how it was the strongest economy in the U.S. history, and all kinds of quotes like that I have saved. Please pardon the cough. It tickles to talk. But that prompted us to look into the underlying economic conditions going into 2021 or into 2020. And I remember saying that I thought that the market would set up quickly because that's how most of these extended bubble type moves end, regardless of which one you look at. It's like everything's fine, and then bada bing, bada boom, within relatively short order, you get the setup, and then it turns down. And that's what we saw in January. I mean, we saw the setup real time, live, as it happened, reported in the letter and the short-term updates. And I thought it was cracking. I mean, I think that was an opening shot, if you will. And then, that carried us down into a 4-year cycle low. And then, of course, everything has bounced since then, and here we are. So I think I kind of digress a little bit in laying that groundwork, but I think we started off, with looking like the bubble had popped, and I think it was on its way. And then we saw, again, he pulled a rabbit out of the hat again and extended this whatever you want to call it, levitation with equities, and it's being painted again. We hear the talk that, the economy's recovering, everything's great, and the stock market's a reflection of the economy, and it couldn't be further from the truth. There's never been more of a disconnect. As we've said, all along, the equity markets is cover. It's being used as camouflage, however you want to say it, for the underlying rotting conditions. You look around at local businesses, at least in my area. I mean, my wife needed brakes on a bicycle. Well, even the local bicycle shop was a casualty. I look at the local restaurants and you read the stories, and, we're told one thing, but the reality is another. We're facing, as we go into 2021, other lockdowns, and they're ramping up the numbers with the cases and so on and so forth. And I'm not denying that there's not something out there. I've been sick myself, so I know something's there, but I don't think it warrants shutting down the whole damn world. And but yet that's what we face. And I think, just like I said, going into 2021 or into 2020, I think 2021, what we will see is, at some point, we have to have structure. That's one common denominator with every market, be it a commodity market, a crypto market, equities. It doesn't matter. It boils down to structure. And at some point, we're going to see the structure fall in place just like we did in January, just like in in 07, just like in 2000, and just like at any other top. We'll see structure fall in place, and when it does, then equities are going to find themselves again in a position, and for this to come apart. And then the question then becomes, once again, can they save it again? And this has gone on, granted, far longer than myself or many other technicians have ever imagined. But at some point, the party ends, and, is this going to be it in 2021? I don't know. We have to see the setup and then see what fruit that bears. But I suspect we're in for some sort of a correction, and again, structure is key.
We'll have more with Tim Cyclesman Wood right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Value from success, growth, and discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Tim Cyclesman Wood. Tim, did we have much of a warning for the March 23rd crash?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it was short and sweet, but the key was, yes, it was the structure. I wrote about it in the updates. I wrote about it in the letter. We saw it come together, and it absolutely, the understanding what was happening as it happened, that was key. And yes, we saw that. Absolutely. Like I said, the key is understanding what you're seeing. And so, yes, on the one hand, it was there. Did it fall in place quickly? Absolutely. But I understood it as it was happening. And so, we called that clearly. And I think we'll see the same sort of thing again. That's the way these things tend to set up, is that, 1 minute everything seems fine, and then, and all of a sudden you have a setup and it's on its way. And I fully anticipate that's what we see again. One other thing that happened throughout 2020, and I think is going to progress into 2021, one thing I've been saying is that I think all asset classes are going to peak together, pretty much everything, and then everything liquidate together. And one example of that is, everything's been extended and pushed, and, because of all the, the stimulus and manipulation and so on and so forth that we've seen. But the advance in gold, it did carry on a lot longer than anticipated, but we did see the structure there fall in place. And I think we have the 9-year cycle top there. Looking at some of the commodity-related indexes, we have structure there that broke in 2020, and it's it's still on track. And I think what we've seen is counter trend rallies there. What we have seen with equities being the focal point, and I say focal point of the manipulative efforts to camouflage and keep everything together, been the point of the stimulus, manipulation, whatever you want to call it. But I do think that everything is moving, cyclically, the rhythm is somewhat the same. And I do think that some of these underlying commodity indexes and gold and so forth, the structure there is telling us that they are leading. And then once we see the structural setup in equities, then I think everything will set up and move down together. The question is, when do we see that structure? And then how well can it be contained once we see it? In other words, when they come to the rescue again, can they negate the setup like they did, back in March? Can they pull another rabbit out of the hat and extend it further? Do they lose control, or do they just let it go at some point? And I don't know the answer to that. We have to feel our way along as we see the setup. And then does the structure continue to develop in association with that top once we see it, or does it begin to mend itself? That's the question. And, that's a crystal ball question. Nobody knows the answer to that, how successful they're going to be at trying to stop the next setup. I don't know. We'll just see when we get there.
We'll have more with Tim Cyclesman Wood right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Tim Cyclesman Wood. Tim, people always talk about so-called safe havens. Again, if there's a major market correction, will there be any safe havens?
Well, I don't know what it would be off the top of my head. As I look around here, I think the housing, not to digress and give the answer or avoid the answer, I don't know what it would be. And let me answer the question now this way. Since the COVID thing started and the lockdowns and so on and so forth, I look at the local housing market and it's insanity. Housing prices, this is, I would argue, at least in my area, it's a bigger bubble than it was back in 2005, 2006. I don't think housing is going to be a safe haven. I think obviously that's going to go with everything else. The precious metals are already set up. Nobody wants to hear that, but they're already pretty much set up. Equities, obviously that's a bubble, been a bubble. And if they lose control of that, then, I don't see that being a safe haven. And I understand the dollar is under pressure now. I understand, I've known that the dollar has made a 4-year cycle top and that it's moving into a 4-year cycle low. I think that, probably in 2021, we're going to move into that 4-year cycle low. And, if there is a safe haven, I think it may be cash. Because if everything liquidates together, cash may be the best place to be in that liquidation process, kind of keep your powder dry, as they say, and then be able to step in and pick up the bargains, kind of like at the bottom in 2009 sort of thing. But I think this is, when I equate it to 2009, I think this is a much larger bubble than the 2009 top. I think that's why it has been such an effort to hold things together. But I do think that everything, including housing, all of it has just blown up into a ginormous bubble. And I don't know where the safe spots are going to be. I don't claim to know that. I personally, in my opinion, I think it's going to be on the sidelines.
Some people are promoting Bitcoin as a so-called safe haven. Is it?
Not in my views because of the cyclical rhythm. Like I said, I look for everything. When the liquidation begins, I think everything gets sold. And as I look at the cyclical rhythm of Bitcoin, it had a major top looking back at it in late 2017, declined into 2018. And just like equities, if you recall, there was a major stock market low in equities in December of 18, and Bitcoin sold. As a matter of fact, it kind of led structurally the setup and the decline into that low. And Bitcoin fell, drastically back then. It went from over 20,000 down to like 3,000 or something like that. So took a huge hit. And then again, in January this last year, when everything started to decline and set up, Bitcoin, it took the same tumble as everything else. So, no, I think that when the setup and liquidation begins, everything's going to go. That's just my opinion, and I say that based on the structure. And why would it be different now? Why did Bitcoin sell off into March, just like equities. But when we get the next setup in equities, that's mysteriously somehow going to be different, and I'm not buying that.
Tim, thank you so much for chatting with us, and hopefully you and your wife recover from that horrible bug.
Thank you, and maybe we can talk more next time. The tickle in the throat is horrible trying to talk.
My guest has been Tim Cyclesman Wood, editor of Cycles News and Views on cyclesman.com. If you have any questions for Tim or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.